Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Dudek. I'm the marketing specialist here at Chrometrics, and I'm about to sit down with an exclusive interview with our EVP of product, Dave Albert, about our design and build process. So if you're excited to hear about Dave's hot takes or maybe what makes a website redesign actually successful, go ahead and watch this video. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dave Albert. I am EVP of Product here at Chrometrics. Been with Crow now for over 7.5 years.
Awesome. We will get started with a few questions. Starting off, can you kind of give us the too long didn't read on what design and build services are in your words?
Yeah, I mean, design and build, it's really like a loose term that encompasses anything where we're creating net new or a dynamically different customer experience. So that could be redesigning an entire website as part of a brand refresh, adding new functionality to a website, replatforming to an improved content management system or e-commerce platform, or like leveraging AI to help customers discover products and services that best fit their needs.
Yeah, that's a great overview on what we're looking at whenever we talk about design and build. So thank you so much for that. What's your hottest take on web design in 2025?
Well, obviously AI is all the rage, right? And in my opinion, AI is going to be a huge unlock to pursue experimenting with the optimal customer experience faster. AI enables us to analyze data faster, predict outcomes, build and launch things faster. And so that's just going to continue to open up more and more possibilities to improve velocity and empower marketing and product teams to experiment more.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you at all. AI is so on the rise and being able to automate a lot of things and have some more shortcuts to things that in the past have taken a really long time, I think is going to be really great. Let's say you've just inherited a broken website and you can only fix three things. What do you fix first?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what's broken, but if something is preventing a customer from making a purchase or completing a transaction, obviously that's paramount to address. But beyond the obvious things, I think I'd really focus on knowing who your customers are, what they expect, and just delivering that frictionless experience to them. So, for example, if they're an existing customer looking for support, make that super easy because they'll stay a loyal customer if it's easy to find what they're looking for and you know they're not frustrated by a lack of support. If they're a new customer, make sure you're matching their intent with what you have to offer. At the end of the day, it's really simple. Just like don't make people think. And with AI, that becomes more important because people expect quick, easy answers, and they're just going to bounce if they can't get them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are really great tips for anyone who's kind of taking a look at their website to see any ways that they can level up. I mean, knowing your customer is huge. That is so incredibly important. When does a website need a full redesign versus a series of strategic updates?
So I think a lot of things can be the driver behind a full redesign. I mean, if let's say, for example, a company has a brand new brand they're trying to unveil, or they're doing a brand refresh, or they really want to elevate the customer's brand perception, sometimes those sorts of big sweeping changes might really warrant a full redesign of a site versus strategic updates. It also could be, kind of politically driven within the organization, right? You might have senior stakeholders who are saying, like, we really need a brand new website experience. So we often kind of see these big sort of pivotal drivers behind why a client would want to redesign versus strategic updates. I think also when you're really thinking about dramatically changing the customer experience, or you're introducing a new way to sell your products or services, like oftentimes those are really the catalyst for kind of rethinking the entire website versus optimizing sort of what's already there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have a follow-up question to that, which is when does competition kind of play into that? When should a brand or an organization update their entire website with a full redesign versus doing strategic optimizations to keep up with the competition?
Yeah, I think that's a really great call out. And I think when a competitor has created some sort of unfair advantage, right? Maybe they've found some advantage within the marketplace where they've unearthed a new sort of revolutionary way to conduct business. And all of a sudden, they're taking over a lot of market share. There could be reasons to redesign to really confront those types of things, or they've potentially positioned themselves to be superior in some way. Like, I'll give you an example. We have a client who has a combination of a software platform and services, right? And they really have kind of led with the service aspect, but their competition is really more leading with the software aspect. And so it's being able to evaluate that and say, okay, are they taking away market share because the customers really prefer the software aspect over the services aspect? And should we lead with our technology aspect first and let our customers know that they're supported by services? So it's really thinking about how your competitors are positioning themselves in the marketplace and then how you're ultimately reacting to that. And if that really constitutes this idea of, hey, we need to dramatically change things in order to stay with the competition or elevate ourselves above the competition.
And I think a lot of decisions behind that too is centered around modernization, and they see their competitors kind of moving in this more, like maybe their competitors have a more updated site that looks very modern and very like of the times, and then, that organization needs to quickly make some big changes in order to meet that level. I think we kind of see that a lot as well. And then to your point, when new stakeholders come in and they want to make big changes, or when new brand guidelines are kind of like pushed out, all of those are great reasons to kind of do a website redesign.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, consumer preferences change, trends change. Your ideal customer profile might evolve and change over time. So all of those are reasons to be thinking about what you want that customer experience to be.
Yeah, totally. And the example you gave is such a good one for people who are considering maybe potentially doing a redesign. What business problems does a redesign solve when it's done right?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it can really elevate the brand perception, right? And cascading from that, it can drive customer loyalty, it can boost conversion. So things like your ad spend become way more effective. I mean, you can spend all the money in the world on ads, but if you're driving to a website that doesn't convert, that's a horrible use of marketing dollars. Lastly, I think it can enhance the lives of your team, right? We're always thinking externally, but sometimes internally is really important too, where if you are building your site in a way where it's easy to manage content and update, you're empowering your team to be able to do more and just have a better working experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. Okay, describe a bad website redesign in 3 words. Go.
Can't find anything.
That's so accurate because if the journey doesn't make sense, if you're not guiding users to where you want them to go to actually drive conversions, and you're, on the website looking for something and you just can't find it, that's a serious problem that needs to be fixed ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, it really all comes back to usability, right? Like you have to get the fundamental usability of your website down. And as you do that, and we often see it through experimentation to really arrive at that optimal customer experience, that then unlocks the bigger opportunities. And bigger opportunities are things like personalization and tailoring the experience to different audiences, really the more advanced things. And it's interesting because we do see often where people want to jump right to the advanced things. And it's like, hey, there are some fundamental things on the site that we really want to make better for the customer before we get into experimenting with those more advanced things, because you're going to get a lot more impact from solving those usability things first.
100%. For someone who's maybe been burned by a redesign before, what's different about the way that Chrometrics does it?
Yeah, the main thing that we lead with that is different is we're taking an experiment-led approach. And what that means is we're going to test to mitigate the risk that unproven changes are going to lead to a lower performing website. Beyond that, I think it's table stakes to be simply a good partner to work with, right? That means good communication, following up on what you say you're going to do, and being a strategic thought partner to the client who can bring the right knowledge and industry perspective to the equation.
Yeah, so I'm hearing delivering a high performing site, right? Transparency and communication, and then just all of the expertise that we have.
Absolutely.
What is one feature you see on enterprise websites that feels fancy but usually confuses users or maybe leads to less conversions?
Yeah, I think a lot of times when they become more corporate landing pages that make it difficult for people to find what they're looking for. And people have very low tolerance for that, especially nowadays when they can just bail and ask ChatGPT for an answer. So solving that and really making it so that it's easy for the person to come to the site and it matches their intent. If they're looking for customer service, if they're looking to buy a product or service, if they're looking to do research, like making sure they can easily go in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What's one part of the process that clients are always surprised or delighted by?
Yeah, I think we simply have really strong project managers that keep everyone on task and informed. I mean, it sounds really simple and obvious, but like so many agencies talk a good game when it comes to that and then simply let things fall through the cracks and don't follow through, right? So you can have these awesome experts. You can have a track record of creating these amazing websites or doing really innovative growth marketing. But at the end of the day, like good project management and having a strong project manager is the backbone of any project. And the best ones know exactly when to pull in the various specialists and the subject matter experts so that like everyone on the team can shine and we can really get to the best outcome.
I love that answer. Shout out to all of our project managers at Chrometrics. They really are so amazing and so on top of their game all the time. And so I really appreciate that you kind of showed them some love here because it's so true that without that aspect of the whole process, no one would be aligned, no one would be able to kind of meet those deadlines, transparency would be lacking, and our project managers are always, always on top of it.
Totally. And it's not impossible to reach the same outcome. Like if you have a really hard 6 months to get from A to Z on relaunching a website, for example, or like a smooth 6 months where it felt very collaborative and everyone stayed on target with the scheduling and worked really well together. And it felt like we are all kind of rallying around the same thing. Like that makes a huge difference that the experience of what you're building together is a positive one.
Yeah, yeah. And with so much stress kind of behind, I know a lot of people care so deeply about their websites, as they should, and that does lead to a lot of stress. So any way that we can take that stress away and make the process fluid and easy and simple, I think is that much more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me personally, who is oftentimes kind of the, executive stakeholder on our side for the outcome of these types of projects, like that is really, really important to me. So when I see something kind of going sideways, I want to make sure that I'm intervening and helping the team reorient themselves around what matters, making sure that the client's happy, because it just leads to a better outcome for everyone.
Absolutely. And that's a mark of a good leader too. Can you tell us about one of your favorite redesign projects and what made it so successful?
Yeah, so we recently helped HackerOne redesign their website, and it was an amazing collaboration. I mean, we had a super tight deadline that was event driven, but our stakeholders on the client side, they were just wonderful to work with. And everyone rallied together around like a shared vision of what we wanted to accomplish and be proud of. And it was just a great outcome. And the results have been great. I mean, the site has driven really strong performance for them. We've made it really, really easy to manage. So, not only was it a satisfying process to work with them, they were just a great client to work with. And we had just such a cohesive team through that process, but we were all really proud of what we launched and super happy to see like how it was performing over the old website. So just a great experience.
Absolutely. And for anyone who is watching this and you are interested in the HackerOne redesign, we do have a case study on our site, and I will make sure that it is linked in the description here so that you can go check it out. What CMS platforms do we typically work with, and how flexible are we?
Yeah, I would say we're pretty agnostic. We can obviously work with, very tried and true common platforms like WordPress and Drupal, but we also work with a lot of headless solutions, so things like Contentful, Sanity, Strapi, and we find that the headless solutions all share similarities, and it's fairly easy to adapt to the various platforms.
Awesome. Okay, how do we ensure performance, accessibility, and scalability don't get lost in the design conversation?
Yeah, I think it's paramount that they are simply part of the plan. Like you absolutely have to build them in the schedule as a non-negotiable item and then have clear mutual expectations set around those three attributes, right? I think it's also important to, as you're looking to build things that are performant, accessible, scalable, that you're also setting aside quality assurance time so that you're vetting all of the work that you're doing across those three areas to really make sure that ultimately what you're launching follows those three things and launches according to your plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Building them in is crucial, especially since, websites grow and they change and accessibility standards, are so, so important to make sure that people can find what they're looking for and it doesn't get kind of like lost in the process. So I'm really glad that you kind of called that out and clarified how we incorporate that into the entire plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, accessibility is just so important because it's just very easy to overlook how different people navigate websites. And it extends beyond, just simply people with disabilities. It's people that have different device types and different monitors and different setups. And so you have all of these different variations of things that can impact how accessible your website is. And so you want to be thinking more broadly as to how you can accommodate all of those things and really thinking about your entire audience. And it's just something that's very easy to overlook. And so we always try to make sure that we're incorporating that as part of the process.
Absolutely. In fast-moving industries like, let's say, travel or telehealth, for instance, how do you design for change and scalability?
Yeah, I think it's important to really do your homework on consumer preferences, the competitive landscape, and just being an industry subject matter expert is super important so that when you're thinking about a fast moving industry like travel or telehealth, those types of things are really important because consumer preferences can change really quickly. The competitive landscape can really make an impact because obviously those are highly competitive industries. They're also subject to technological advances, right? Especially in telehealth. So it's just really making sure that like you're staying on the pulse of those types of things so that ultimately you're going back and relying on sort of tried and true methods and best practices, but at the same time, like adapting to what the consumer wants now.
Thank you so much, Dave, for sitting down with me for this interview. I think we got a lot of really good insights about,
Cool.
website redesigns and just the design and build process in general. So I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. Take care.